Nebraska winter conditioning just wrapped up, and over the past couple days, I have learned some last-second, big-time nuggets about Nebraska breakout players going into spring ball, some undisclosed injuries that Matt Rhule did not mention, some key players who might be on transfer watch, the overall talent level of this team going into the year, and so much more. So in today's video, I'm going to go over this loaded update and everything else you need to know. So really quick, this is going to be a jam-packed video. Hey, if you're just having a good day, because I know I am, hit that like button. And also, if you support what I'm doing here, it takes 2 seconds and it really helps me out more than you know. Please hit that subscribe button for daily Husker football content. Once again, please hit that subscribe button. I'm so appreciative of all you guys. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it, going over the last Nebraska winter conditioning update of 2025. The Huskers just wrapped it up this week. Now they will enter spring break going into next week. And then on Wednesday, March 26th, it really starts to heat up because Nebraska will begin spring practice. But, talking about winter conditioning this past week, the last week of it was called Team Commitment Week. Basically, since Matt Rhule's got here, he's done this where he basically makes 10 semi-teams of all the players on the roster. He'll put 10 together. And these players might not be too accustomed with each other. They might not be best friends, but over the entire week, they'll work together in mat drills, conditioning drills. They'll hang out with each other. They'll do these challenges on the side. You want to talk about how good this Nebraska culture is. It's stuff like this on Team Commitment Week because everybody's friends with each other. It starts here when you might hang out with somebody who you don't normally hang out with on the team. A wide receiver might hang out with an offensive lineman who they're not really used to. So it really all starts in Team Commitment Week. And a lot of people just don't talk about that. The journalists don't talk about this, but it was a very successful week for the Huskers. A lot of friendships were made, but the culture really was lifted up. And if you want to know who won the Team Commitment Week, it was the team called the Strikers, which coincidentally was full of walk-ons who really love Nebraska, and they worked the hardest. I don't know the full criteria of it, but they worked the hardest. They got the most points. But overall, man, really, really good week. A lot of people were very happy with it coming out of the program. But, talking a little bit about the mindset of this team, we'll get into breakout players in a second. When I listen to Matt Rhule talk, and whether it's in these podcasts or, these press conferences or even these other players who are on podcasts or whatever, this just exudes confidence, especially out of winter conditioning, about how talented this roster is. They're saying that, man, the athleticism on this team is unbelievable. The drive, the commitment, just people being bought in. We've never seen this so far in the Matt Rhule era. Leadership's at an all-time high. We have so many veterans on this team, whether that's on defense, like a Marquez Buford, a Buda Wright, a Deshaun Singleton, an Elijah Judy. On the offensive side, we have Rocco Spindler, Teddy Prohaska, Turner Corcoran, Dane Key. There are so many veterans. So the talent level on this team should get you very excited. That's the perception out of Lincoln, man. There's a quiet confidence right now in everybody that, man, we're really going to shine this year. Even, we're not going to hype ourselves up. Usually in past years, we might hype ourselves up and, we'll get blasted because we won't actually be as good as what we think we are. But this year feels different. We're not hyping each other up, but we know inside how good we actually are. So I want to go into the breakout category, some last-second guys who really shined in winter conditioning going into spring ball. Now, the first one I want to talk about, I've got a lot of questions about over the past couple days, and this is Marquez Watson Trent, of course, transferring in from Georgia Southern. So we talked about Matt Rhule's press conference on Tuesday, and I told you guys that the 3 transfers that he selected were the 3 transfers who have shined the most and impressed him with their leadership. And those were Deshaun McCullough, Dane Key, and Rocco Spindler. Marquez Watson Trent was not involved in that press conference. So naturally, people are commenting, texting me, Wilson, is Marquez Watson Trent playing up to snuff? Is he that leader that we expected him to be? The answer is unequivocally, absolutely he is. Marquez Watson Trent, again, you can pencil him down to start for the Huskers. He's really impressed people. They could only pick 3 to do that press conference. You'll hear from MWT later this offseason, but I think he's going to be huge when it comes to the development of Vincent Shavers. We've already heard how he's building a really good relationship on this team, and he's just, again, it's another guy who wants to come here, play really well, help us win, but go to the NFL and get paid. So Marquez Watson Trent, been hearing good things about him as of recently, especially after this last week. But again, I think he's going to take a guy like Vincent Shavers under his wing, a guy like Dylan Rogers under his wing, and make them better players long term. So Marquez Watson Trent wanted to address that, but yes, he has been playing well. And I shouldn't even say playing well because they're not actually playing football, but it's just about competing right now. It's about competing, lifting up the most weight in the weight room, being committed in, conditioning, not cheating, right? Going 100% at all times and really showing your commitment for this team. He is absolutely doing that. Then I want to talk about Harley Gilmore a little bit. We've already talked about him kind of in a breakouts video before, but again, more good things we've heard from the staff as of recently. I mean, the whispers inside the program, they're saying a lot of good things about Harley Gilmore, again, how he's continuing to put on weight, how he's bought in, how he might have not been 100% bought in last year at Kentucky, but man, he is really flipping a switch this year for Nebraska. You know, it should be mentioned, Harley Gilmore was going to play the entire season for the Wildcats last year if he didn't get injured in the summer. He is completely healthy. He looks the best he ever has. He's so explosive, and you know, when we reacted to his film about a month and a half ago, I mean, he just plays angry. That's a must-watch. If you haven't watched that video, I'll link that down below. But Harley Gilmore, man, he is an incredible athlete. Again, I'm telling you guys, with the way that the staff is talking, with the murmurs inside the program, it feels like right now the starting three might be Jacory, it might be Dane Keene, it might be Harley Gilmore. We just haven't heard that much about Isaiah. Very interesting stuff, but Harley Gilmore, I mean, from an athleticism standpoint, he might be one of the most gifted players on the team. Going to the next one, man, Makai Nelson is somebody who I just want to put on your radar because we are going to hear a lot of good things about him in spring ball. It's, you know, I think there's this perception around the program that Quinn Ives is just going to be our bona fide number 2. That is not happening. It is going to be a battle for that number 2. There's 3 guys pretty much up for grabs, in my opinion. It's going to be Makai, it's going to be Quentin, and it's going to be Jamarion Parker. But I think the staff is really impressed with Makai Nelson. Again, he's completely bought in. Another East Coast kid who's very strong. But the thing I like about Makai Nelson is he's probably the most complete back on this roster. He's speedy, but he's also very physical. Probably the most physical running back on this roster, besides maybe a Connor Booth. He can catch passes. He can block. I think the staff is really going to gravitate towards that along with EJ Barthel. Would not be shocked at the end of spring practice if we're talking about this guy potentially being our running back too. Sam Sledge is another guy who the talk around him has really increased recently. Man, he put on some really, really good weight this winter. You know, Sam Sledge, he's competing for that center job. I personally think it's going to be Justin Evans-Jenkins. I think they're going to put him back at center, but the staff really, really likes Sam Sledge. They love his commitment. They love his drive. Again, this is an old weight. I believe he's up to about 310 right now. So again, he just looks really good. But from a run standpoint, man, he is really, really polished. We kind of saw that last year when he got on the field. We want him to, you know, develop his pass pro, and it should be mentioned that you're kind of the signal caller of the offensive line when you're a center, so he kind of needs to develop his leadership as well. But Sam Sledge, right now, probably the odds-on favorite to be our center. Definitely want to put that on your radar, but again, he put on a lot of good weight this winter. One other guy I want to talk about is Gabe Moore. Now, I've been hearing some good things about Gabe Moore. A lot of some of my subscribers, you know, when I talked about Gabe Moore, I want to say a month ago on the channel, I did his film reaction, and they would text me or they comment on videos and they say, you know, Wilson, I have a class with Gabe Moore. He's super quiet, but he's a really, really good guy. You know, I think that's kind of the sentiment around Gabe Moore. He's just one of those dudes who's going to put his head down. He's going to continue to work. And the reason why I mentioned Gabe Moore in this video is because, you know, with the D-line injuries, you know, with some of these guys being out for spring ball, I really think Gabe Moore is going to have an opportunity to shine. Like Sualafoto, for example, is out. That's a nose tackle for the Huskers who is probably going to be in our 2 deep. Gabe Moore now has an opportunity to jump them. So I like Gabe Moore a lot. I mean, he's super, super athletic for, you know, being up to 290. This weight is incorrect. He's about 290, 295 at this point in time. So again, he's really big. He's a nose tackle, but he's just a quiet guy, you know, quiet, kind of a friendly giant a little bit. But, you know, Gabe Moore, hopefully he's bought in. My only thing about Gabe Moore is I just don't know. I just want him to make friends on the team. I know that sounds kind of corny, but I don't know. From the things I've been hearing, I just want him to make friends. I want him to feel like Nebraska is his home. I don't know if he thinks that right now, and it'll take time. I just want him to kind of feel like, hey, this is going to be the place for me long term. It takes someone getting used to, and I don't know if he's there yet. Want to keep an eye on that. So really quick, wanted to talk about Gabe Moore, kind of the breakout players, but also the guys who I kind of have my eyes out for going into spring ball. And then one last thing, I kind of want to put my 2 cents into this because this has been the conversation over the past couple of days. What's going on with Carter Nelson? Because, you know, Tim Verghese said something on a podcast. He's a Nebraska Rivals writer, and he said how he didn't expect Carter Nelson to play this year due to his hip injury. And, you know, the media kind of took a hold of that. They started talking about it. I think Carter Nelson will absolutely play this year. I don't think it's even a question. Again, he had that hip injury at the very end of the year. I think maybe it was even early January. It's about a 6-7 month recovery time. It's definitely not light, but he'll be ready to go by fall ball. The only concern I have about Carter Nelson is can he continue to put on weight? Because I don't know his limitations with the weight room with that hip injury. I know there's a lot of stuff he can't do. He needs to continue to put on weight, man. And by weight, I mean muscle. And when you're not in the weight room, when you have that hip injury, it's going to be tough. So Carter Nelson, I know some people are asking if he's going to play this year. He will. The only thing I'm concerned about is can he actually play tight end? Because we need him to play tight end. Like, he's not going to play at wide receiver. He is not a top 3, top 4 receiver on this team right now. He's just not. Okay, his long-term future, if he wants to get to the NFL, it's going to be as a tight end. He's never going to be a great blocker. We're never going to expect that from Card Nelson. We want him to utilize him kind of like Penn State utilized Tyler Warren, who's going to be a future first-round pick. Kind of a flex tight end who can just use his athletic abilities, use his frame. But that's the only thing I'm worried about is continue to put on weight, but he will play this year. Wanted to mention that. Talking about a couple other storylines, let's just fast forward to spring ball. Some guys who, in my opinion, are competing for roster spots. I want to talk about, some guys who might transfer if things don't go well for them in spring ball, if they're not at a point in the depth chart. Most of these guys are veteran players who might just say, hey, I want to go play, my couple last years of eligibility. And it should be noted before I get into these players that I'm not dogging any of these players. I love all of them, but you just got to look at things through an objective lens nowadays because this is a professional mold and there's going to be cuts that are going to be made. So I want to get things started with the guys going into spring ball who, if they don't play up to snuff, I would not be shocked if they transfer. Quentin Ives, Janiron Bonner, Demetrius Bell. Demetrius Bell's out, but I could see him transfer if he's saying, hey, I'm not a top 5 receiver on the depth chart. Might go play somewhere else. Tyler Kanak, Gage Stanger, and Malcolm Hartzog. Those are kind of the veteran guys who I can see transfer just because, hey, they don't have much eligibility left. If they're burying the depth chart, they might go. Okay. Now, as for the guys who might be cut, and I'm talking specifically scholarship players here. I'm looking at the second year in the D-line, some of these younger second year, third year players because they weren't recruited by Terry Bratton nor Addison Williams. Guys like DeAndre Barnes, Bryce Turner, Jaden Doss, on the D-line, Ashton Murphy, Mason Goldman, guys like that. Like players who we just never hear nuggets about ever. They're never, shining in practice. Maybe, again, maybe the positional coaches don't like them. They don't really see a future with them. And they might just say, hey, I want to recruit my own guy. We don't have a roster spot for you. You might go. So those are the guys who might not be here going into the fall. If they don't play up to snuff, would watch out for those names. But the reason why I mention this is because winter conditioning is the first step of cutting down the roster because Matt Rhule is secretly gauging, how committed these guys are, right? And I thought it was funny. Roy Halou was recently on Character Chronicles, and I watched it a little bit. And shout out to Character. And basically, Roy Halou said how Bo Pelini, when he was at Nebraska, he used to videotape the winter conditioning to see if any players were slacking off. Now, Nebraska might do that, but the part of winter conditioning is to kind of find out which players are bought in and which players aren't. And I'm telling you, if you're a talented player but you're not bought in, that's going to go a long way when determining if you're going to get cut or not. So, again, just wanted to mention that the winter conditioning is very important when it comes out to who's actually going to be on this roster going into the fall. All right, guys, that's the video. We're talking about winter conditioning. It was a quiet winter. It really was. I heard some nuggets here and there, again, through some people I know through the university. I don't want to disclose everything. Of course, you guys probably already know if you have been watching my channel for a long time. But, again, we heard a couple nuggets here and there. But really, for the most part, it was one of the more quiet winters I've ever been a part of. And Matt, that's credit to Matt Rhule, man. He's really shutting it down in that building. No information's getting leaked. That's a credit. That's good going forward. That's how a proper college program is conducted. I remember in the Scott Frost era, there were so many leaks in winter conditioning and spring ball. So many leaks. This guy sucks. This guy, is showing up too late. This guy's balling out. We just don't really hear as much when it comes to Matt Rhule, and I think that's, just a testament to how well he's doing. There weren't any arrests this winter conditioning. Arik Gilbert. There weren't any, coaching resignations. There weren't any athletic directors leaving. There weren't, some crazy media stories. So overall, it's a pretty successful winter conditioning. We didn't hear any crazy stuff. But now, in about a week and a half, we will enter the biggest Nebraska spring practice of our lives for the first time ever. There will be, every single player has a target on their back. They might not be there. Everybody's fighting for a roster spot. 25, 30 guys are going to get cut. We will see what happens. I'm excited to cover on this channel. But let me know your thoughts down below about these last second winter updates, what you're thinking in the comment section. I absolutely want to hear what you say. Hey guys, I appreciate all of you. I just want to take this time to appreciate you guys, especially, I know it's the middle of the off season right now. The YouTube views are down. Obviously, it's off season, not as many people are caring about Nebraska football, but I appreciate all you guys as always. I'm going to continue to grind every single day for you guys. And again, if you're unsubscribed, please join this family. Hit that subscribe button. I appreciate all of you. All right, guys, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go be grab. Go Matt Rhule. See you in the next one.